Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants, KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, the sports leader.
Welcome into a Saturday evening extra inning post-game show with Bill Laskey as we talk about a San Francisco Giants team that has run into a hot Minnesota Twins club, and they have now won 7 games in a row, the Minnesota Twins. They have won 12 out of their last 13 at Target Field, and the team has just been pitching extremely well. When you look at the starting pitchers in the 7-game win streak the Twins have had, they have a 2.4 earned run average, and you add the bullpen in, and they have a 1.2 earned run average. So this is built on Minnesota Twins on their pitching staff. And once again today, Joe Ryan dissected the offense for the San Francisco Giants, going 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run. That was a home run by Elliot Ramos, no walks and 7 strikeouts. And this was not just this today. Chris Paddock yesterday, if you watch that game, he had a perfect game going, 17 in a row, going through 5 2/3 innings without giving up a base runner. Today, the Giants did the same thing. They could not do anything against Joe Ryan. Beginning of the game, he retired the first 5 hitters in a row. Then Elliot Ramos hit a 1-2 fastball out of the yard to give the Giants a 1-run lead. And then he retired 8 in a row before Elliot Ramos hit a swinging bunt, and it just was a little dribbler down the third baseline. And then he finished the game with 5 in a row. Joe Ryan really threw the ball well for the Minnesota Twins, and he came into this game with a 2-2 record with a 2.9 earned run average, 47 strikeouts, 5 walks on the season right now for Joe Ryan. When you look at both these games and you start adding up numbers, the numbers for the offense are dismal for the San Francisco Giants. They're 7 for 59 in 2 games, 17 strikeouts. They've only got 2 runs. They have not issued a walk. No walks they have gotten from the Minnesota Twins. And this gets a little worse as you start talking about the lineup and who's hitting, who's not. 6 players in 2 games are 0 for 40, 6 of them. And you go down from Willie Adames, 0 for 8, Yastrzemski, Jung-Hoo Lee, 0 for 7, Flores, Wade, and Bailey, 0 for 6. This is not good hitting. This is not quality at bats. This is a team that should be hitting these guys. These guys are good pitchers, no question. But this is something they're having adjusted to yesterday with Paddock and again today with Joe Ryan. And both of them were just throwing 4-seam fastballs. Good location. Yesterday when Paddock was throwing, he was a 4-seam pitcher. He threw 48 fastballs at 96 miles an hour. Joe Ryan today threw 55 at 94 miles an hour. So it's not like they're blowing gas by these guys. They're just not getting quality at bats. Matt Chapman today 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. These guys in the middle of the order, Wilmer Flores 0 for 3. Jung-Hoo Lee now is in a slump. He has not hit the ball well at all in this Minnesota Twins series. And this is one of the first times I've seen him really reaching for pitches. Willie Adames, another one, 0 for 8 with 4 strikeouts. Guys in the middle of the order, 2, 3, 4, are not hitting the ball at all. They're all swinging, and they're not making quality hits and at-bats. On the other side, you have to pat Logan Webb on the back. What a game once again he performed, going 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And the home run ball he gave up to Trevor Larnach, he tried to throw a sweeper to the lefty. It went down and in, and Larnach hit it right down the right field line for his 6th home run of the year. And I think what he really going to be upset with Logan Webb, not really the home run ball, but the walk he gave up leading off that inning to the number 9 hitter, Christian Vasquez. And he went 3-1, 3-2, fouled off a couple pitches, and he walked him, and that was a leadoff walk in that third inning. He ended up punching out Buxton, and then Larnach hit a ball right down the line, and that was it. He really pitched well today, going 7 innings, 5 hits. He threw 103 pitches, 68 for strikes. He was laboring a little bit in the 7th inning. Castro jogging on a ball that was a double. Yastrzemski threw him out at second. He ended up getting Lewis on a pop-up. Bader got a double, and Bob Melvin stuck with him to finish the 7th, and he struck out Vasquez to pull it off. But he really, really threw well again today. 23 first pitch strikes out of 27 hitters, 10 ground ball outs, 2 fly ball outs. And when you dissect what he threw in his arsenal today, the sinker was moving extremely well. That's where he got the 10 ground ball outs. He threw 43 sinkers and good movement on the pitch. He was going on the outside corner to a right-hander, getting a ground ball from the left-hander, 28 sweepers, 19 changeups, and then he threw 8 cross-seam fastballs. And I think this is what he's trying to use in his arsenal now, where he can elevate the fastball and get guys swing through it. 9 strikeouts, really done well by Logan Webb. And then Randy Rodriguez came in for 1 inning and just blew guys away. 10 strikes out of 12 pitches, and he punched out 3 in a row. Really good pitching today and yesterday. Logan Webb, Randy Rodriguez today going 8 innings, only 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. And then yesterday, Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison did the same. They threw 8 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. So the pitching definitely has been here in Minnesota at Target Field, but the offense has gone dismal. Elliot Ramos today going 3 for 3, and one of the big plays happened in the 8th inning. He led off with a double, and then Lamont Wade Jr. hit a deep fly ball to get him at third base, and with Patrick Bailey batting left-handed, the Minnesota Twins put a pick play on, and Vasquez de Lewis picked off Elliot Ramos at third base, which was a huge blunder on Elliot Ramos getting too big of a lead in that situation. There was another one that I just want to point out also, Logan Webb. We've talked about Logan Webb covering first base on ground balls to first or ground balls to second, and he was late on a ball that he ended up getting Lamont Wade Jr. an error, a ball that was hit to Lamont Wade. He knocked it down, and by the time he picked it up, Logan Webb was just halfway there, wasn't even sprinting to first base. But these are things that elevate games. These are mistakes that need to be corrected. This is good winning baseball, and these errors like that, mental errors, end up costing games. Today, the pickoff at third base was something that they'll talk about forever because you just don't make those outs at third base when that's your tying run. And, of course, so with Lamont Wade Jr. getting him over to third base, the opportunity was there for the San Francisco Giants to tie the game, and it just didn't happen. So now the Giants have lost 2 games in Minnesota. Tomorrow, an afternoon game starting here, first pitch at 11:10 a.m. Landon Roop on the hill against Pablo Lopez, and Pablo Lopez is their ace of the staff. He's 3-2 with a 2.18 earned run average, and he has really pitched well for the Minnesota Twins, going 33 innings, 37 strikeouts, and only 5 walks. But let's open the lines up, 415-808. KNBR, 415-808-5627. Got a great interview later in the show. Gernard Span, I catch up with him. He's an analyst for the Minnesota Twins as well as a forever Giant, as he came over with the orange and black and played for a couple years. All right, let's get back. I'll take a quick break here. Come back with more. My name's Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
0-2 to Willie Adames. 2 down in the 9th inning. Here's the pitch. It is called strike 3 with the curve, and the game is over. Duran works around that leadoff bunt hit. The Giants' offensive frustration grows here in Minneapolis. 2 games, and both games the Twins pitching just shuts the Giants down. 2-1 final. Twins get the victory.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Saturday night here on KNBR with Bill Laskey. Giants, tough one today. Logan Webb gets the loss, giving up only 2 earned runs on a home run ball. I still go back to the walk to Vasquez. That's probably one of the things, the only walk he had in this game. And then in that 9th inning, that's why I wanted to get Cole to play the 9th inning last out. I thought there was a possibility after Koss drag bunted to get a runner on first. I thought there was an opportunity for Yastrzemski also to bunt to get him over to second base, and you would have had Adames, Lee, and Chapman up. But Melvin kept him swinging, and he ended up going into a 1-6-3 double play. I thought at that time, you get a guy in base. You got a guy on base, and you got to get him over to second base to try this game, tie this game up. He's been struggling. You know, when you look at Yastrzemski's numbers, 0 for 6 going into that bat, I thought at that time to lay a bunt down to get him at second base would have gotten a better chance for him to swing, but I'm not managing him. I'm only just telling you my opinion. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Let's go to Santa Rosa and talk to John. John, you're on the Extra Inning post-game show with Bill Laskey. How's it going tonight, buddy?
Frustrated, Bill, these last 2 games. I mean, 2 runs in the last 2 games, that's not going to cut it. The Froster has a lot of holes. The right side of the infield, Koss is not an everyday second baseman. Brett Wisely is not a everyday second baseman. Wade can't hit. There's just a lot of holes that are starting to. These cracks are starting to show.
Starting to show a little bit. Yeah, and even though they're 24-16, these last two games, the offense just has not showed up. Yesterday, I did the post game on Sports Phone KNBR, and Bob Melvin said, "We're not crisp. We're not taking good at bats," and I have not seen anything from the post game reports yet, but I'm sure he is not happy with what happened today also. I threw this out there, John, in the ninth inning. I'm glad you talk a little bit about the game. After Koss got the bunt base hit, were you thinking Yastrzemski was going to sacrifice him to second base? Because I really thought that's what he was going to do.
Yeah, I did too. I really thought that's what he was going to do. So
at that time, especially at that time, they're not making good contact. Bunt him over and then give an opportunity for Adames, Lee, or Chapman to drive him in. He kept him in there. He had a nice at bat, but it ended up being a 1-6-3 double play. Sure, armchair quarterback, you always say it. But at that time, once Koss laid the bunt down, I'm like, perfect, let's get him in scoring position. And they just didn't do it. They really didn't do any situational hitting so far in these two games.
No. Just real quick, that 9-run inning in Chicago seems like about 10 years ago now. They've just gone totally.
And, they came into Minnesota with some good adrenaline. They won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, a very good team, and the starting pitching has stifled them. I threw numbers out there earlier in the show. 7-game win streak on the Twins. Their starters have a 2.4 earned run average, and the relievers have a 1.2. So you got to look at what the Twins have been doing on the mound, and tomorrow they got Pablo Lopez, and he's their best pitcher.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game tomorrow. We can't get swept. That would not be a good way to end the road trip. When it started out,
especially when you're coming home to play the Diamondbacks, the Athletics, and the Royals. Royals and the Diamondbacks are playing really good baseball. So the Athletics beat the Yankees today up in Sacramento. They have over 20 wins. So they have to snap out of this offense gloom they're in.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
All right, thanks so much, John. And when you talking to fans, I think fans are a little worried about these batting averages a team hitting under 230, and something's got to change here. Either we change the lineup and move some guys around or give some other guys opportunity. Casey Schmidt's got an oblique. He's going to be coming back. Encarnacion, who had hand surgery, he is going to start rehabbing. But are these two guys going to salvage this? They're going to, jump in his lineup and open up some eyes. Encarnacion might with the power he has. Fitzgerald, of course, has a rib injury. He is not ready yet. There's nobody really in AAA that you're going to rely on to come in here to give them a boost. So this offense somehow, some way, has got to wake up. And I loved what John said. You can't get swept in Minnesota. And tomorrow they're going to have to do something against Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez in his last few outings, he went 5 innings against Baltimore, only given up 1 earned run, 6 1/3 against Cleveland, only gave up 2 runs. And the Los Angeles Angels, he went 5 innings, only giving up 2 runs. This guy can pitch. I loved him when he pitched for Miami. He was a free agent. I would have loved to have the Giants go after him. He's that type of guy that's going to be always around the zone. 33 innings, 26 hits only, and I love the numbers of 36 strikeouts and only 5 walks. And going back to what Logan Webb had coming in here today, Logan Webb had really good numbers on the season. He went 48 1/3 innings, 45 hits. 56 strikeouts, 13 walks. And today, the 1 walk he had today ended up biting him because of Larnach hitting that home run in the 3rd inning. 808 KNBR, let's get some more talking going on here. Let's go down to Orlando and talk to Josh. Josh, you're on with Bill Laskey on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. Tell me what the Giants can do to get out of this slump.
Thanks for taking my call, Bill. What I want to talk about is the mojo the Giants had in that late inning when they got those 9 runs on the board. And
Chicago.
Probably, yep. They probably were high-fiving each other going into Minnesota. We did it. We had a great game. And then their bats went cold. In my opinion, to get that mojo back, they need to score runs early in the game, and that's what they're not doing in the last 2 games. Right. You can't score runs early in game, you're not going to win that many games. If you look at clubs like the Dodgers, you look at clubs like the Yankees, they're scoring runs.
Padres are hot right now.
You score runs early in the game, you have a more likely winning percentage. The Giants do not do that this season, and they need to change that.
Well, Josh, you know what? The problem is going into Minnesota, they've scored 2 runs, and they've both been home runs, one by Chapman and one by Ramos. You have not had any situational hitting. You haven't had any runners on base to do anything. That's been the problem. When, yesterday, you look at what Paddock did, 17 in a row before finally Koss got a base hit. Today, I was reading this to you, Joe Ryan, the first 5 guys, he had 3 strikeouts, then home run. Then he retires 8 in a row, then a little base hit by Ramos, and then he finishes the game with 5 in a row. They have not gotten anybody on base, even by a walk. 18 innings, no walks. So there's something going on here in this offense, and they either got to really struggle here going out of this 3rd game, because this is going to be a whitewash if they get beat tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pablo Lopez, like you were saying earlier, is a very talented man. When he was with the Marlins, he was just great.
I liked him. I really did. He was a free agent, too, and I remember Farhan had mentioned him at one time, and I was like, go for him. He can pitch. He's only 29 years old, and he's with Minnesota for 3 years now, and he's dealt every year.
I was totally jealous when Minnesota got him on the team. But going back to the offense, I think
what would you do? What would you do if you're a hitting coach right now? How would you adjust these hitters?
I'm going to have to see who the hottest hitter is, and I'm going to say Ramos. I'm putting him at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, you got a right-hander. He may jump up in front of Flores tomorrow. Flores is struggling once again, 0 for 6 with 2 strikeouts. When you look at these numbers, Josh is 0 for 6 Wade, 0 for 6 Bailey, 0 for 7 Jung-Hoo Lee, 0 for 8 Adames, 0 for 7 Yastrzemski. It's not one guy here. It's a cluster of 6 or 7 guys. And when that happens, you're not scoring any runs.
To finish off my call with you tonight, I wanted to talk about the trade deadline 2025. The Giants need a move at first base, and I think it's going to come with Buster Posey being creative. That's why I foresee.
Yeah, it's a ways away, though. You're only in the month of May now. You got June and July. I think some things might change here. I don't know what could, because against right-handed pitchers, they're doing so well until the last 2 games. Against right-handers, they're now 22-7, and they were 22-5 coming into the series. So I don't think if Wade can just get some at-bats where, like he drove that ball to center field and moved Ramos over, that's a clutch at-bat to that point. But he's just not getting on base. And right now when you're looking at Lamont Wade, he's 16 for 107 with 1 home run, 13 RBIs. That just cannot cut it from a corner guy, especially a first baseman.
We'll see what happens later in the year. I'll talk to you another game.
Josh, thanks for the call. Appreciate your time tonight. And you can dissect these numbers. I mean, the numbers are there. It's how you can adjust. What's next? How can these hitters come in tomorrow with a different type of swing path, a different type of makeup to put the ball in play? 17 strikeouts in 2 games. The strikeouts are starting to mount up. No walks. That's another thing, the discipline on the walks. Even though these 2 pitchers, Joe Ryan as well as Chris Paddock, both of them were in the zone time and time again, and they both threw very good games against the San Francisco Giants. 808 KNBR if you want to get on phone lines. We're going to take a quick break. Come back with more right here on the Extra Inning Post Game Show on KNBR.
Georgie Brothers Furniture Showroom is a full-service home furnishing store located at 211 Baden Avenue in South San Francisco and has been in business for 92 years. It is one of the Bay Area's best-kept secrets. Still operated by the third-generation Georgie family, their goal is to offer expert and personal service as well as white glove in-home delivery. Georgie Brothers also features a Simmons Beauty Rest mattress gallery. Get a great night's sleep at an amazing price. Come visit our 50,000 square foot showroom, which is full of beautiful quality furniture pieces. You can also visit them at GIORGIBROS.com.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, the sports leader.
Webb pitches, and a swing and a miss. Strike three. Got him with the high fastball. That was the four-seamer. Probably the final pitch of the night for Logan Webb, his 9th strikeout. He pitched very well tonight.
All right, back on the extra inning post-game show with Bill Laskey on KNBR. Giants lose today 2-1 in Minnesota at Target Field. Minnesota Twins are hot. They've won 7 games in a row. And how that all started last weekend, they took 2 out of 3 from Boston. And then they came home and swept the Baltimore Orioles 3 straight games. And now they've won 2 games against the San Francisco Giants. So 7 games. They are now 20-20 on the season. And you start looking at some of the things they've done right, and at Target Field, they are playing really well. They've won 12 out of their last 13 games there. And I keep talking about this because their pitching has been dominant. When you look at 33 runs in a 7-game win streak, that's not a lot of runs, but their starters have been dealing. 2.4 earned run average over those 7 games, 1.2 of their bullpen, and really some no-names coming out of the bullpen that really are high-velocity type relievers. And today, of course, Yohan Duran getting his 7th save. He is nails for them to get that closer position, and that's what they've been doing, pitching and good defense. And their defense is pretty damn good. A nice pick play by Vasquez to Lewis to pick off Ramos in the 8th inning. A big, big blunder right there by Elliot Ramos, getting too big of a lead. And it was really set up when Patrick Bailey came up to bat left-handed, because now the whole third base line was wide open for Vasquez to see where the runner was. And I don't know if it was a pick play plan, but the ball was away from the hitter, and Vasquez just threw a bullet down to Lewis, and they got him. There wasn't even a replay on it. And I'm sure Elliot Ramos having a fantastic game today, getting 3 hits, a base hit, a double, and a home run, 3 for 3, and he's probably hanging his head, no doubt, about getting that pick at third after Lamont Wade Jr., after he hit the double in the 8th inning, got him over to third base, and it just didn't work out for the San Francisco Giants today. But I really wanted to look at what Logan Webb today did, and here's a guy that's been pitching with no runs for a while. You start looking back at him, of course, everybody calls him the Matt Cain syndrome, where Matt Cain pitched 1-2 earned runs and never got wins because the offense couldn't score runs. And today's the perfect example for Logan Webb. But before I get into 1-808-415-808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 if you want to get on the phone lines and talk about this with me. Logan Webb, just the ace of the staff, no question about it. The 28-year-old right-hander goes 7 innings today, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. The home run ball in that third inning was the only blunder he had. 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, and you start thinking, 9 strikeouts, that's pretty good. Logan has been striking out a number of hitters this year. Coming into today's game, 48 1/3 innings, 56 strikeouts, so you can add another 7 on there. That's 55 with 65 strikeouts. So here's a guy that's a sinker ball, slider type guy, and he's punching guys out. And what he did today, and, Hunter Pence and Dave Fleming did the game on radio, and Hunter noticed it, and he was talking about the cross-seam, the elevated fastball, where the cross-seam fastball is more of a straight shot of a pitch rather than the movement of Logan Webb's sinker. And it gives the hitter a different eye view of the pitch. And if you can elevate it right under the chest, that's where you get a lot of swing throughs. Today he had a few of them. In the first inning, gives up a double Larnach, and he punches the side out. Punches out France, and he punches out Lee. And right there, 13 strikes, 20 pitches, and he really threw a lot of pitches in that first inning. But then he started dialing back, 14 in the second inning, 10 strikes, 20 in the third inning. That's when he gave up the home run ball, 13 strikeouts. After that, he really limited the damage by going 9 pitches in the fourth, 11 in the fifth, 16 in the sixth, 13 in the seventh. And that's kind of the range where you'd like to be, in that 15 pitch or less per inning. And what he did overall is the combination of pitches. And we always talk about the sinker, the sweeper, the changeup. And he did that well today. When you look at the 103 pitches he threw, 43 were sinkers, and got great movement on it. I love how he throws that sinker out to a right-hander and catches that outside edge for a strike. He does that really well. Struck out Byron Buxton today 3 times, and one was called, and he was, they were complaining about it. Got thrown out. Manager got thrown out about it, but it was a good pitch. It's a late tail on that outside corner. And he did that, for several. Ty France did the same thing. As a lefty, he went away on him. And then he threw the sweeper. The sweeper's that pitch from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock if you're looking at how the pitch is thrown on the side view of it. And he threw those 28 times. The changeup is what we always talk about. If Logan Webb has a changeup, a lot of damage cannot be done. He got that about 85 miles an hour, and that's kind of where you want that pitch to be when you're throwing 94, 93 on the average for a sinker or fastball. And the same thing with fastball. He mixed in 8 of them and 5 cutters, something else that he's working on. But when you look at the arsenal of what he's doing, he threw 40 strikes, 10 of them were on whiffs. And this is something that Logan Webb's used to. He's out there battling. His last game against Colorado, threw 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. And that was kind of what he was doing with Colorado, too, by getting ahead of hitters and getting them to ground out. They showed a graphic on Fox Sports today about Logan Webb's career, and I kind of added it up even more. He's first with 668 1/3 innings. This is Logan Webb in his 7 years of pitching. 107 career starts and 69 quality starts. And, of course, a quality start is going 6 innings with 3 runs or less. He is the ace of the staff. He goes out there and bows his neck, and he really, really gets guys out when he needs that ground ball out. He did that in the 4th inning with 3 nice ground ball outs where he only threw 9 pitches, 8 for strikes. The following inning, he punches out 2, and he goes 11 pitches, 8 for strikes. So you can see how he gets into the rhythm once he gets going. And we always talk about Logan Webb in the first inning, one of his struggling innings, where he really struggles to get outs. But today he got out of it, the double, and he punched out the next 2 hitters. So these are things that we watch on Logan Webb as you start watching him get into these games. Today was his 9th start, and he's very good career. I mean, when you look at career numbers, 59 and 44 with a 3.3 earned run average, and you can't beat that. I mean, Logan Webb has worn the orange and black. He's a leader in the clubhouse, and somehow, some way, this offense has to wake up. You look at some of these averages, and sure, the averages are dipping, and some of these haven't even got to 200 yet. And you just don't know what the Giants are going to do here because Patrick Bailey has to catch. He's the best catcher they have. But the swing path on Patrick Bailey, there's no muscle behind some of the swings. It seems like one-arm swings. Lamont Wade Jr. swinging sometimes too hard where he can't control the zone. Those are the two guys that everybody talks about, and they put the target on both of those. And when you start looking at their batting average, 150 and 180, there has to be something changed here. Corner infielder, power hitter, should be driving runs in, and he's just not doing it right now. Defensive-wise, today he bunted one ball, but Logan Webb didn't cover first base. I think his defense has gotten tremendously better. Don't forget, Lamont Wade Jr. was an outfielder, and he transferred over to play first base a couple years ago, and he's learning, but he's still very good at what he does at first base. You look at these numbers again, when you start looking at a 2-game series, they're just not waking up. They go into Chicago, they take 3 games in Chicago. They lose the Monday game 9-2. They come back on that Tuesday game with 9 runs in the 11th inning, and they pull that one out 14-5. And then Robbie Ray just pitched a gem again. Robbie Ray winning all 8 of his games that he's pitched in. He is now 5-0, and they win that one 3-1. So really the momentum was on the Giants' side with that day off. And this is what's going to happen when the day off comes. Sometimes it takes another day to get going again. You just don't know why. And these things happen. This is what days off do. You get out of that routine. You get them out of that rhythm. And they came into Minnesota with a little adrenaline, and there was no adrenaline in the offense as the San Francisco Giants have only scored 2 runs in 18 innings, and both those runs were really by solo home runs. One by Chapman yesterday and one by Ramos today. All right, 808 KNBR, want to get on the phone lines. Bernard Span, I caught up with him. We're going to sit down and talk to him, and that's coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Post Game Show on KNBR.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning postgame show with Bill Laskey. I'm excited to bring a friend back to the show. He played 11 years in Major League Baseball, 5 years with the Minnesota Twins, 3 with the Washington Nationals, and of course he wore the orange and black for 2 years. Currently a color commentator for the Minnesota Twins. Let's bring in Denard Span. Denard, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Bill. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And, you know, when I look at your career, there's 2 things that pop out at me. Being a leadoff hitter, one of the best in the game, and also your pristine defense. I want to talk about being a leadoff hitter. Your on-base percentage for 11 years was .347. At one time, it was .392, .387. You said in a Sports Illustrated article, when I lead off the game, that at-bat belongs to my teammates. I'm trying to get on base for them. I'm trying to make the pitcher show his secondary pitches, slider, curveball, changeup, or whatever, before he has to them. My leadoff spot belongs to my teammates. Explain that to me.
Yeah, it's just about, you know, being selfless. And, you know, just like I said in that interview, as far as, you know, putting my team, you know, before myself, especially that first at bat. And, you know, being that leadoff hitter, it's not something that I believe everyone is built to do. And, you know, you have to, you know, be comfortable with hitting with 2 strikes. You have to be, you know, just the type of hitter that, you know, can put the bat on the ball. And you know, so for me, it just was about, you know, whether of course I would want to get a hit or, you know, draw a walk and get on base and score that first run for my ball club. No better feeling than scoring that first run. But even if I had made an out, I just wanted it to be a productive out or a productive at bat, where I saw, you know, minimum 5 pitches, 5-6 pitches if possible, so that I could go back to the dugout and relay information, you know, to my teammates.
Denard, some of the leadoff hitters when I was in the big leagues would go off a pitching machine and not swing the bat. They would just stand there and have the pitching machine throw different pitches at different times just to watch the strike zone, watching where the balls go, having that discipline to watch a pitch. Have you ever done that before?
Not necessarily off of a pitching machine, but what I would do is I would stand in on pitchers' sides, their bullpen days. Mm-hmm. And I would track the balls. I wanted to see spin. You know, I wanted to see that changeup. The changeup was one of the most difficult pitches for me to recognize because it looked like the fastball coming out of the hand. So yeah, I would definitely do that, especially, you know, if I was not having good at bats and I wasn't seeing the ball really well. I would do that to try to slow the game down for me and just get more reps and essentially get, you know, an extra 5 to 10 at bats down there in that bullpen.
Denard Span joining me on the Extra Inning post-game show. Running the bases, you were fantastic at 185 stolen bases in your career, but cutting corners of the bases, trying to get around the bases as quick as you can, and knowing your outfielders and their arms. A lot of times base runners work on this through spring training. Did you do much of this during the season? Yes, every day, you know, during batting practice, yeah, I would make it a point to at least one group, you know, during batting practice to go around the bases and to work on my secondary leads and to work on, you know, reading line drives and ground balls, you know, from first base. And I'd go to second base and then work on with 1 out, no outs, you know, tagging up, you know, knowing, you know, if I could, you know, get to third base from second base on a ground ball up the middle or to the right side. And then at third base, I would work on, you know, my contact plays and tagging up from third base on balls in the outfield. And then, you know, coming up in the minor leagues with the Minnesota Twins, we had a really good base running instructor by the name of Paul Molitor, who ran the bases magnificent. I'm sure did you play against, I'm sure you played against him or? I did. Or he was fantastic and a very good hitter on top of it. You know, he was one of those guys that would make contact with everything and really watch pitches until he got into his account. But you're absolutely right. Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, those guys were just fantastic at cutting bases and running bases as you were. Correct. And so, yeah, he
he every spring training would have a station where he talked to us about running the bases and the importance of it and how it can be the difference in winning close ball games. And so, coming up in the Twins organization, we honed in on doing the little things exceptionally well.
Well, being a commentator as you are watching the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton, the 31-year-old center fielder, one of the fastest guys for the Twins, 7 stolen bases, 9 home runs. He hits with power, hits with a good contact. Tell me a little bit about him and what you've seen that he becomes that good base runner like you were. Yeah,
he's just the epitome of a two-way player. You watch him out there in center field, and he's won a platinum glove, he's won a gold glove, and he goes and gets it in the gaps. And then on the offensive side of things, he hits for a little bit of power, a little bit of average. He has speed. So he just is a dual threat, athlete, if you will. And he just has that ability, that game changing speed, and the ability to change a game. So yeah, he's the one guy. If you are looking at that Twins lineup, he's the one guy that you really have to pay close attention to.
Well, staying with defense, let's talk about your defense. Another great 11-year career, .991 fielding percentage at the end of your career, 30 errors in 11 years, just fantastic. Of course, center field was your primary position. You played a little left, a little right. But I always talk, when I talk outfielders, about jumps, that first step, proceeding to try to find out where that ball is going to land. Tell me a little bit about how you worked on that.
Yeah, I would do it. I would work on that every single day during batting practice, getting live reads, reading balls off the bat, working on my angles. Obviously, I tried to save my legs as much as I possibly could for 7 o'clock, but I would still take, at least one full group where I shagged very intentfully and very intentionally. And so, yeah, I would work on, those first 2 to 3 steps. Working on my breaks and working on, getting behind the baseball, getting around the baseball, working on my exchange. I work on, throwing to bases, to second or third base, pretty much daily. And so, yeah, I for a guy like me that did not hit for a ton of power, I knew that I had to be exceptionally well as a defender. And that's where I could bring, probably 75% of my value was out there in the outfield as a player.
Well, Denard, 2012 through 2019, Wilson made an award for the best defensive player. It wasn't voted on by managers or coaches like the Gold Glove is. It was awarded about statistics on sabermetrics. You won it in 2012 with the Minnesota Twins. You won it again in 2013 in the National League with the Washington Nationals. You were the first player to win this award with 2 different leagues. Now, the best
I never knew that.
The best overall player was you. And when you win this award, they don't have it anymore. But, when you start looking at statistics and sabermetrics, these are things that are, really rewarded on your play. That's why getting to that spot, getting that jump, that's what I wanted to hear. And now it shows with your numbers.
Yeah, it's funny. I never knew that I was the first person to win it in both leagues. And I remember when, that award was awarded to me, I had never heard of the Wilson, Defensive Player of the Year. It was one of those, under the radar, type recognitions in comparison to the Rawlings Gold Glove. And so, which still to this day, I'm not keen on individual awards, but I'm still frustrates me that I never got a Gold Glove in my trophy case. But like I said, defense, that was my bread and butter. That was my ticket. I took pride in it. I had a knack of just closing the gap, getting that first, just getting a good first step and the reaction time and using my athletic ability from playing football and basketball to go and get that ball once I saw it in the air. And there was no greater feeling, like I said, I didn't hit many home runs, but I had about 75 or 80 or something like that. But I enjoyed taking away a hit or a home run more so than getting a hit.
Well, let's go to the hitting side a little bit in your career, and you're absolutely right. You had more triples than home runs. How about that, Denard Span?
How about that?
72 triples. And in that number, when you start looking at what you did, in 2009, you hit 311. You had 10 triples first in the American League. 2014, you hit 302 sixth overall, but you had 184 hits, and that was first in the National League. One of the numbers that jumped at me in 2013, you had a 29-game hitting streak, and that was pretty good. I love hitting streaks, especially watching hitters going up there, 3-4 at-bats, and you're getting down to the last at-bat, and you got to get a hit. You know, the pressure mounts when you have a hitting streak. It's always good to get the first one. Willie Mays used to always say, just give me a hit the first at-bat, I'll be fine the rest of the day.
Correct.
And I'm sure that's how you thought. Yeah, I'm sure that's how you thought in that 29-game hitting streak.
Yeah, I think on the actual 29th game, my last at-bat, I got a hit to make it 29 games. And I do remember that was the first time over that entire month, essentially, where I felt the pressure. You know, the first 20 days, I wasn't even thinking about it. You know, the media was starting to stir up that I had a 20-game hit streak, but honestly, it really didn't bother me. I was so locked in and in the zone, and you know, just having fun and getting hits and helping the team win. And then when it got to about 27, 28 games, that's when I started to feel the pressure. I think my body probably started to get a little tired mentally. I started to get a little tired, and I remember that last game that I got the 29th hit. It was on that last at bat, and then that's when I felt that wow, this is real. This pressure is real. And then the next day, I didn't get a hit. So, but it was a special time. It was towards the end of the year. It was my first year in DC. I'd been in Minnesota my entire career. I get over to DC, and it's the first time being traded, and it was a transition for me. It took some time for me to get adjusted and accustomed to being a part of a new organization. And towards the end of the year, when I went on that run, it catapulted that season for me, and it made me feel like I was a part of the Washington Nationals team. And so it was a fun run for sure.
Oh, no question about it. And your career just elevated coming over to the orange and black, playing for the Giants. Let's go back to the Twins real quick. A couple new players that they picked up over the winter. Ty France, who played with Seattle most of his career, did play with Cincinnati a little bit last year, hitting .263, 3 home runs, 19 RBIs. And then Harrison Bader, who most of his career played with St. Louis and played with the Mets a little bit last year. He's got 4 home runs, 287. Tell me a little bit about how these two guys are fitting in with the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, I think the Twins did a really good job at choosing both of these veteran guys to come in and provide production and just a spark for their team. Ty France, I was following the team on the road, the last road trip in Cleveland and Boston, and he was by far, I would say the best hitter in the lineup as far as, hitting line drives all over the field, drawing walks and just having quality ABs. And he's just a guy, once again, that will give you just a quality AB when you need it. And, he's been providing that. And then Harrison Bader, this guy I think he's healthy. I think the last year and a half, he dealt with some minor injuries, and you can tell he's healthy by the way he's moving in the outfield. When I was covering the team last week as well, I think I might have witnessed at least 3 or 4 infield hits on top of, some big line drives and doubles in the gap. And so, he's exciting once he gets on the bases. And then when he plays left or center, he's similar to Byron Buxton where, he can go in the gaps and chase the ball down as well. So, both of those guys have provided a good addition to the ball club.
Couple more questions with Denard Span on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. You got elected from your Tampa Catholic High School as the 2025 Distinguished Alumnus of the Year. I guess you are now going to get an award there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, my reward is to be the commencement speaker at graduation in about a week and a half. So I'm gearing up for that. Obviously the nerve as each day gets closer, I'm getting nervous. But I'm excited and I'm thankful. I'm humbled. I'm honored just to get the opportunity and to be recognized, from my alma mater. I don't take it lightly. Anytime I get the opportunity and ask to do anything from anybody, I take it with great responsibility and great respect. And so, I love my alma mater, and I look forward to, hopefully, giving the 2025 graduates some words of wisdom.
Denard, you have a heart of gold, man, and you've done a lot of things for different people. And, of course, your Denard Span Foundation for single-parent families. It's something that you've talked about with me many times, and I just really want to reach out to the people listening to see what they can do to help you and support you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, bringing this up. And I would definitely love any support or, any, contributions. This is something that, I started in my Washington National days. And it was as I was, getting established as a Major League Baseball player in the league. And, I realized that, the game of baseball as a player was not going to be forever. And I wanted to, try to make use of my platform while I had it. And I grew up in a single mother household. So that's where my heart is, just knowing what my mom had to, go through to, provide for myself and my older brother and make sure, we had the opportunities that every other kid had. And, it was a struggle, her having to go to work and be both mother and father. And so, for me, it's awesome that, I get the opportunity to speak life and encouragement to, single parent families and to the parents and to the kids. And so our program is, mainly based on, the second most important essential in a family for family stability, and that is transportation. And so, we have a program set up here in Tampa, Florida, where we help these single parent families get into brand new transportation so that they can get to and from work and get their kids, to and from school and to and from their extracurricular activities.
Denard, is there a website somebody can jump onto to read about it and maybe donate or somehow to support you?
Yes, DenardSpanFoundation.org, and then also Denard Span Foundation on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Excellent. My friend, thank you again for your time. It's always a pleasure catching up with you.
Yes, I appreciate you, Bill, always.
All right, that was Denard Span on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to an extra inning post-game show on a Saturday night. Giants lose today, a tough one in Minnesota. 2-1, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Twins. 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error for the San Francisco Giants. Giants now are 24-16. They've lost their last 2 games to Minnesota, where they only scored 2 runs on 7 hits. And both those runs come by solo home runs. Matt Chapman hit his 8th yesterday. Elliot Ramos hit his 6th today in the second inning. Elliot Ramos had a real nice game today. He went 3 for 3. But the biggest blunder he had in the 8th inning, he hit a double leading off the 8th inning. Lamont Wade Jr. hit a nice fly ball to deep center field. Got him over to third base. And right then and there, Patrick Bailey was up as a left-hand hitter. The whole third base line was wide open. And Vasquez de Lewis put a pickoff play, and they picked off Elliot Ramos at third base, and that was a tying run for the Giants with 1 out. So that was a blunder on his part, but you got to look at what he did in the game today. Like I said, 3 for 3. He's 4 for 6 in the 2-game series with a home run. The defense also, he's been playing really good defense in left field, and just that blunder, it always magnifies the game because at that time the Giants were trying to score the tying run, and you look at what Logan Webb did. Logan Webb goes 7 innings on the offensive side. When you look at the defensive side, Logan Webb goes 7, goes up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, and the walk to Vasquez in the second and third inning ends up giving up a home run to Larnach in the first pitch he saw, too. And Trevor Larnach hit a sweeper, which was kind of like a slider down and in, and the lefty hit it right down the right field line, and that was really the only mistake that Logan Webb made. Going 7 innings, he threw 103 pitches, 68 for strikes. 23 first pitch strikes, his 27 hitters, 10 ground ball outs, 2 fly ball outs. So he did his job, but the offense is just not doing anything in Minnesota, striking out 17 times in 2 games, only giving up 7 hits, getting 7 hits. And 6 players in this lineup are 0 for 40. Adames 0 for 8, Yastrzemski and Lee 0 for 7. Flores, Wade, and Bailey 0 for 6. And tomorrow they're going to go up against a good right-hand pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, and that's Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez, 29-year-old right-hander. He's had 6 starts. He's 3-2 with a 2.18 earned run average. Only he's given up 2 home runs. In 33 innings, 26 hits, 8 earned runs, 37 strikeouts, 5 walks, and I think he's going to be around the plate just like Chris Paddock and Joe Ryan was. Joe Ryan today getting his 3rd win, and he was pitching very good for the Minnesota Twins. He was 2-2 in 7 starts with a 2.9 coming into tonight's game. Logan Webb giving up that home run today. That's his only 2nd home run he's given up this year. And you look at when is the last time he gave it up, 42 2/3 innings ago. That's when he gave it up. And he really has kept the ball down. I always talk about ground ball outs, and he had 10 ground ball outs today. And that's when you know that the sinker and the slider's working, the changeup. And I liked what he did with the cross-seam fastball today, using it to elevate to get the swing throughs at the higher part of the zone. Let's take a look at a couple scoreboards today. When you're looking at scoreboards, you're always looking at the NL West, and today, boy, it was really ugly for the Colorado Rockies. The San Diego Padres today in Colorado beat them 21-0. 21 hits, or 21 runs, 24 hits. That's embarrassing. It really is for a big league team to go into Colorado. They scored 5 in the first. They scored 8 in the fourth. They scored 4 in the fifth. 21 runs, 24 hits. Now in Arizona, the Arizona Diamondbacks shut out the Dodgers 3-0. That's their 2nd win in 3 games. Arizona's starting to get hot. They're 21-19. The Dodgers have fallen to 26-14, a 5-hit shutout. Corbin Burns ended up pitching a really good game for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Cubs ended up beating the New York Mets today 6-5 in New York. Last night the Mets ended up shutting out the Cubs. Today the Cubs ended up beating the Mets. The Marlins ended up beating the White Sox. Both teams are struggling. The White Sox 11-29. The Marlins are 15-23. Red Sox beat the Royals in Kansas City today 10-1. Cincinnati Reds beat the Astros in Houston 13-9. The Philadelphia Phillies beat the Cleveland Guardians 7-1. That was in Cleveland. The Texas Rangers ended up winning finally. They've been in a real hard time. They won 10-3 against the Detroit Tigers, coming back in that game. The Tampa Bay Rays ended up beating the Brewers 3-2. The Athletics ended up beating the Yankees up in Sacramento 11-7. The Braves over the Pirates 3-2. That was in 11 innings. The Cardinals over the Nationals 4-2. Blue Jays and the Mariners are still going on up in Seattle. That's 3-3. That's in the top of the 6th inning. And the Orioles are playing the LA Angels down in Los Angeles, and the Angels are winning 5-0, and that's in the bottom of the 5th inning. Tomorrow, 11:10, first pitch right here. The San Francisco Giants will try to win one of these 3 games and get on this road trip where they can be 3-3. Pablo Lopez against Landon Roop. Landon Roop has not been pitching consistent. He pitched really well. I thought he did in Chicago. Kept a lot of soft contact. He went 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. He comes in with a 2-3 record with a 4.8 earned run average, 35 innings, 40 hits, 5 home run balls, 39 strikeouts, and 14 walks. Gerard Encarnacion is playing for the Sacramento River Cats tonight, and his first at bat hit a nice double down the right field line. So we'll see how long that's going to take for him to get back up with the San Francisco Giants. They need a lumber. They need somebody that can hit in this lineup. And Wilmer Flores is falling backwards along with a couple other guys, and that would be a shot in the arm for the San Francisco Giants to see if Encarnacion can come up here and put some damage on the ball. They need to get some guys to drive the ball. Tomorrow, Bryce Eldridge is going to be on the show tomorrow on Extra Inning Post-Game Show. I sat down with him on Friday and talked about how he was doing through spring training. He had a hand injury, a wrist injury, and then now he's in Richmond. And today he had a second home run for the Flying Squirrels as they end up winning the game. And we talk about a lot of things, playing first base, all the things that he needed to do in spring training. And he mentioned Ron Wotus, Matt Williams, J.T. Snow, Will Clark, a lot of good first basemen and a lot of good defensive specialists that helped him play first base. And he's learning that position. This is something that he transferred from being an outfielder. And he really wasn't even an outfielder, more of a batter, I think, more of a DH. But as he said, he needs to learn about it. He's 6'7", and his defensive skills have to get better. We also talked about conditioning. And at that date, he was going into a morning lift. So he was talking about doing more lifting. Nutrition was another thing that he was talking about, and learning nutrition as the season progressed. And he's happy in Richmond. He wants to, of course, jump up to AAA, but he's complacent in where he is. He wants to get better at his skills, and that's defensively as well as offensively. I asked him in the interview, how are they pitching him, if he's pitching them differently, and he said, yeah, they're throwing me a lot of junk. They're not challenging me with fastballs. So he's learning to go the opposite way, learning the skills of using all parts of the field. Very good interview. That'll be on tomorrow after the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. That'll follow the third game in Minnesota with Extra Inning Post-Game Show. And also, I sat down with Joe Nathan. Joe Nathan, of course, pitched for the San Francisco Giants. But most of his career was with the Minnesota Twins, 6-time All-Star. He's in the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. And what was cool about sitting down with Joe had a very interesting early part of his career before he signed to go pro. He lived in a real small town in New York. He went to a small high school, ended up going to a small college, played shortstop most of his career, and then he came unsigned with the San Francisco Giants. And he came in and started playing A-ball, and he wanted to play shortstop. And the whole story starts there because I wanted him to understand what he had to go through, all the little hurdles that he went through mentally and physically as we brought this interview in. And the interview really talks about how he generated to learn the game of baseball, learn how to pitch, and learn wanting to be a pitcher. So both those interviews are coming up tomorrow on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. And 2 good interviews I hope you'll listen to. And, of course, tomorrow's Mother's Day. You got to give your mom something, give her some love. Moms always were there for any baseball player, driving to practice, always washing your uniforms, all the good things moms did. And not just for baseball, of course, for moms of everybody. So a good day tomorrow to put your arms around mom and give her some love. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with more. My name's Bill Laskey. It's the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. We'll be back with a couple more comments on the KNBR sports leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Saturday. Giants have now lost 2 in a row. They lose to the Minnesota Twins today, 2-1. 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error. 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Twins. The Twins now are 20-20. They have a 7-game win streak. Boy, they are playing extremely well at home. They've won 12 out of their last 13 games at Target Field. Giants got to win one, and tomorrow's that day. The first pitch is at 11:10 a.m. right here on KNBR. Landon Roop on the hill for the San Francisco Giants. He's 2-3 with a 4.8 earned run average, 35 innings, 40 hits, 5 home runs, 39 strikeouts, 14 walks. His last start was against the Chicago Cubs, where he went 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Going against the ace for the Minnesota Twins, and that's Pablo Lopez, the 29-year-old right-hander. 6 starts. He's 3-2 with a 2.18 earned run average. Only's given up 2 home runs on the year, 33 innings pitched, 26 hits, 37 strikeouts, and 5 walks. A lot of things going on in Major League Baseball today. Let's just take a look at the divisions real quick. In the NL West, the San Diego Padres walloped the Colorado Rockies today. They're now 25-13, and the LA Dodgers lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are now tied in the NL West. They're both 25-13 and 26-14. The San Francisco Giants are 2 games back at 24-16. The Arizona Diamondbacks, who are coming in next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 12th, 13th, and 14th, they are now 21-19, 5 games back. And the Colorado Rockies are 6-33, 19.5 games out. And boy, it is getting bad in Colorado. The NL East, the New York Mets are at first place, 25-15. Phillies are 23-16. They're a game and a half out. Atlanta, if you remember how bad they were in the beginning of the year, are now 1 game under 500. They're 19-20, 5.5 games out. The Nationals are 17-23. And Miami is 15-23, and they're 9 games out. In the National League Central, a lot of things happening in the Central. The Cubs are now 23-17. The St. Louis Cardinals are starting to win. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 21-19. Cincinnati now has fallen a little back. They're 20-21, 3.5 out. Milwaukee's 19-21, 4 games out. And the Pirates, who fired their manager, and it's getting dismal in the Pirate land. And boy, Pittsburgh's 13-27 now. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're 10 games out. Let's take a look at the American League real quick. The New York Yankees lost the Athletics today, 22-17. They're in first place. Boston Red Sox 21-20, 2 games back. Blue Jays are 18-20, 3.5 out. Tampa Bay 18-21, 4 back. And the Orioles, who are really struggling right now, 14-23. The Baltimore Orioles, how about that? 7 games out, and they're 4-6 in their last 10. Detroit Tigers are still maintaining the lead in the AL Central. They're 26-14. Cleveland is right behind them, 2.5 back, as well as Kansas City, 2.5 back, 23-16. 24-17. The Twins now, of course, a 7-game win streak. They're now 20-20. They're 6 back. And then the Chicago White Sox again, 11-29, 15 out. The AL West, another shake-up. Boy, everybody's just playing good baseball there. The Mariners are now 22-15 in first place. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Athletics now 21-19. We'll see them next weekend here, 16, 17, and 18th. They're 21-19, 2.5 back. The Houston Astros 19-19, 3.5. The Texas Rangers 19-21, 4.5. And the L.A. Angels 15-22, 7 games back. Just real quick down, we'll talk about the divisions. It's good to hear that because we're almost a third of the year way here. 162-game season. We're at 40 games. It's always good to kind of know who's hot, who's not. And a lot of teams in the middle are starting to play a little better baseball, as we're seeing from the Minnesota Twins. Yeah, I want to thank my guest today, Bernard Spann. He was a great contact with me and the Minnesota Twins. If you missed that interview, it'll be on the All KNBR podcast. I'll be on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week. Of course, I'll be doing some Sports Phone KNBR on Thursday and Friday, and again, extra innings next weekend. and sat down with Jim Cott, a Hall of Famer. Boy, what a great interview I have for you next weekend with Jim Cott. And we talk a lot of pitching, and what a great guy. 87 years young. How about that? And when you hear his voice, he sounds like he's 50 years old. Just a great, great guy, and so happy he's in the Hall of Fame. Good friend of mine. But tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow Extra Innings will follow up the third game against the Minnesota Twins. Bryce Eldridge will be on with me, as well as Joe Nathan. Two good interviews. You don't want to miss them both. Good interviews for Mother's Day. All right, we're going to close it out. I want to thank my producer today, Cole Lepelt. Did a great job. Few calls coming in. But at the same time, I want to thank all of you for listening to the KNBR Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a Saturday. Coming up next, Dubs OT with John Dickinson, Greg Silver, and Kyle Haar. They're going to run down the Warrior game and see where they are with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we'll find out more as they break it down coming up next. For Bill Laskey, be safe, be well, have a great rest of the night. I'll be right back here tomorrow on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. More coming up next on Dubs OT right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home of San Francisco Giants baseball. KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader. Play KNBR on iHeart.